Hello, my name is Katie Grindelin, and this is our Nucor Corporation case for our strategy and management class at Bemidji State University.
Hello, my name is Eric Etherington, and I will be presenting the PowerPoint presentation during our recording today.
Hi, this is Shane Fierstead, also contributing to this presentation.
And lastly, I'm Tracy Bowman.
So we'll begin our case, Nucor, and we will be performing a Porter's 5 forces and SWOT analysis today. Shane, slide 1.
Nucor Corporation, Porter's 5 forces and SWOT analysis. This is a presentation for MBA 6145 Strategy and Management by Group B, comprised of Tracy Bowman, Eric Etherington, Shane Fierstead, and Katie Grindelin.
Shane, slide 2.
A little background information on Nucor Corporation. They're the largest manufacturer of steel products in North America. They have their roots in the 1950s in the Nuclear Corporation of America. Later they got into steel production. A little analysis of their 2014 performance. They produced 21 million tons of steel. Sales were $21 billion US. They have approximately 200 operating facilities with a combined annual capacity of 27 million tons. And all of this is produced by nearly 24,000 employees.
Tracy, slide 3.
Porter's 5 forces model for Nucor. Rivalry within the industry is high, as vigorous cost and price competition between the rivals, and the U.S. market is flooded from global competitors. The threat of new entrants is low. It is capital intensive to start up manufacturing, and economies of scale are required.
Tracy, slide 4.
The threat of substitute products is low. There is minimal primary substitutions, and secondary substitutions include aluminum, plastic, or wood. Supplier bargaining power is high. There are few suppliers within the industry. There's scarcity of raw materials, and a majority of raw materials are imported.
Tracy, slide 5.
Buyer bargaining power is high due to low switching costs and low product differentiation, and contract volume buyers have considerable negotiating power.
Eric, slide 6. So the results of our Porter's 5 forces model analysis are pretty standard throughout the U.S. Steel Corporation. Some differences that are specific to Nucor and other steel manufacturers who utilize scrap steel and scrap substitutes as their raw materials are identified in this slide. The scrap steel and scrap substitute prices are the main drivers of operating expenditures for these companies that utilize these two items as their raw materials, and market demand's effect on scrap availability and prices. I'm just going to start this slide over and we'll edit it out. So, Porter's 5 forces models results. The primary competitive forces impact on producers using scrap steel. Scrap steel and scrap substitute prices are the main drivers of operating expenditures, and the market's demands effect on scrap availability and prices. Nucor was able to backwards integrate, which proved to be beneficial for reducing supplier bargaining power. We will now begin our SWOT analysis of Nucor Corporation. Throughout the SWOT, we will identify the strengths, weaknesses of Nucor Corporation, and any potential opportunities and threats. Strengths are covered as specialized skills or expertise, and also valuable company assets and alliances. Weaknesses are any lacking attributes that can create disadvantages and competitive liabilities. Opportunities include market share growth, profit potential, and aid creation of competitive advantage. And threats deteriorate future prospects and future market share. Shane, slide 8.
So first of all, we'll talk about Nucor's strengths, and there are plenty of them. First, general strengths. The company has great longevity. They've been around since the 1950s and 60s. They have a history of growth and reinvesting in the company, strategic acquisitions, and they've used their good times to prepare for difficult times. Nucor is extremely efficient. They focus on value add and innovative technologies. And they have an international strategy, at least since the year 2000.
Shane, slide 9.
Continuing with Nucor's strengths, we look at their human resource strengths. They've had fairly stable leadership through the years, basically just 2 CEOs over a period of nearly 50 years. They have a pay-for-performance program, which has added to their strengths, and they have good treatment of employees. Considering their product strengths, their products are diverse: rebar, structural components, bar stock, sheet steel, buildings, mesh, grates, fasteners. They serve a broad range of industries, and they're somewhat vertically integrated, with one division supplying to another.
Nucor's weaknesses. One of the largest weaknesses of Nucor is their excess production capacity. After the financial or the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, this forced Nucor to operate well below their overall production capacity, which forced them to be unable to spread high fixed costs over a higher product volume. Another weakness is the volatility in raw material prices. These are based on current market demands, and there are also few suppliers within the industry. Narrow customer base is also another weakness. Nucor's sales rely heavily on the non-residential construction market, and they have began to expand their customer base through mergers and acquisitions based through the years of 2001 to 2010. Another weakness is the use of scrap steel or scrap substitutes as their raw materials. This is one of Nucor's single biggest costs. 1.1 tons of scrap or scrap substitutes must be consumed to produce a ton of steel. And this effect has hindered the company's ability to compete against other steel manufacturers who follow a traditional manufacturing process based on converting coal or coke using a traditional blast furnace technology. Katie, slide 12.
There are numerous opportunities presented during this Nucor case, 3 of which stood out the most. First, the option to hedge steel prices will allow Nucor to better control cost. A recent CME study noted that second only to the international crude oil market, the ferrous industry accounts for a significant and growing amount of the global economic activity driven by robust demand from China and other emerging economies. Managing this risk along the steel supply chain will increase protection against price volatility, improve forecasting of the operating budget, and better anticipation and management of financial risk. Another opportunity for Nucor is to push for government subsidies. Global excess steel capacity is at an all-time high. Imports have now seized more U.S. market, thwarting domestic efforts to recover from the economic downturn. Nucor should work with lobbyists, politicians, and government officials to advocate for steel subsidies.
Katie, slide 13.
An additional opportunity for Nucor is to exploit opportunities to become leaders among the steel industry of pollution control and reduction. Nucor has created numerous products and processes within a number of their plants to not only curb pollution, but create products that lessen the impact, such as their cast strip product. With this product, it consumes 90% less energy, increases operating and cost savings, and eliminates 80% of greenhouse gas emissions.
Tracy, slide 14.
There are several threats that Nucor faces. Global competitors is one. Global competitors were entering the U.S. market at cut-rate prices, leading the U.S. steelmakers to reduce their prices in order to compete. Of particular importance in 2013 is the competition with Chinese imports. It is believed that the Chinese steelmakers are selling steel at an artificially low price due to the Chinese government's manipulation of foreign currency exchange rates, and that the Chinese steelmakers are heavily subsidized by the Chinese government. Government regulations. In 1999, the U.S. Department of Commerce concluded that many countries were illegally dumped stainless steel into the United States, and several other countries were found to have facilitated dumping in the United States by giving their own steelmakers unfair subsidies. The Clinton administration opted not to impose tariffs or quotas on imported steel, leading to the bankruptcy of several U.S. steelmakers. The Bush administration was more sympathetic to the U.S. steel industry. In 2002, the Bush administration imposed tariffs of up to 30% on imports of some steel products.
Tracy, slide 15.
More threats for Nucor is rising scrap prices. Nucor is the biggest user of scrap metal in the United States. In addition to using scrap for their own plants, Nucor purchases millions of tons annually. Scrap metal prices are driven by demand-supply conditions, and prices fluctuate significantly. In 2003, the average cost per ton used of scrap metal was $137. In 2013, the average price per ton used was $376. And as Eric alluded to, rising scrap prices hindered Nucor's ability to compete with steelmakers who are making steel from scratch. The company is also vulnerable to recession. In 2008, Nucor's sales was 25.2 million tons of steel products, and its revenues were $23.7 billion. The unexpected crisis of 2008 hit Nucor in 2009. Nucor's sales plunged to 17.6 million tons, and along with it, their revenues dropped to $11.2 billion in 2009. The economy was slow to rebound. This has been very challenging for the steel industry. It was said that 2009 to 2014 is one of the longest and deepest economic slumps in decades. To compound the negative impact of the slow economic recovery, Nucor's sales and profitabilities were heavily dependent on private, non-residential construction projects, as well as publicly funded infrastructure projects such as bridges, schools, prisons, and hospitals. In addition to the recession vulnerability at home, the industry is also affected by recession abroad. The economic recession of Europe and Asia in the late 1990s hit the United States steel industry in 2000 and 2001. During this economic slump, 29 steel companies filed for bankruptcy.
Katie, slide 16.
The SWOT analysis reveals Nucor's instinctive and innate ability to innovate and transform the steel industry in the United States. Throughout Nucor's history, they've developed distinctive and core competencies, making Nucor the largest steel producer in the United States and 13th in the world.
Katie, slide 17.
Distinctive competencies include innovative steelmaking technologies, diversified product line with rapid responses to change, compensation packages that are competitive, and comprehensive raw material strategy, which includes recycling scrap from their facilities and Nucor's workforce compensation practices. Nucor's core competencies include merger and acquisition strategies, first mover mentality that quickly aids in expanding product lines to attract new or existing market segments, and the pursuit for better environmental practices and sustainability.
Thank you for viewing our presentation. Below are our resources that were utilized during these slides. Have a great day.